السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. You can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up tired. Not because your body is exhausted, but because your mind has been working all night. You wake up, and before your feet touch the floor, your mind has already started calculating. What if this happens? What if that fails? What if the money isn't enough? What if the job doesn't come? What if the person leaves? What if the plan doesn't work? What if tomorrow becomes worse than today? And suddenly, you haven't even lived today, but you are already suffering through tomorrow. My dear brothers and sisters, perhaps this is the burden you have been carrying. You are trying to solve problems that have not happened. You are trying to control people whose hearts you cannot control. You are trying to guarantee outcomes that were never placed in your hands. And the strange thing is, you may call this responsibility. You may say, "I'm just planning. I'm just being careful. I'm just thinking ahead." But there is a difference between planning for tomorrow and trying to control tomorrow. Planning is an action. Control is an illusion. You can prepare. You can work. You can make dua. You can take precautions. But after all of that, tomorrow still belongs to Allah. And perhaps the reason your heart is exhausted is because you are carrying something that Allah never asked you to carry. You were given responsibility for your effort. You are never given responsibility for the result. Think about that. Your responsibility is to wake up. The result is Allah's. Your responsibility is to work. The result is Allah's. Your responsibility is to make the right decision with the knowledge you have. The consequences belong to Allah. Your responsibility is to make dua. The answer belongs to Allah. Your responsibility is to tie the rope. What happens after the rope is tied is not yours. This is where tawakkul begins. Not when everything works out, but when you finally understand the boundary between what is yours and what belongs to Allah. Imagine standing at the edge of a road. You can choose which direction to walk. You can choose whether to move forward. You can choose whether to stop. But you cannot control everything you will encounter along the way. You don't know who you will meet. You don't know which road will be closed. You don't know when it will rain. You don't know what opportunity will appear. You don't know what difficulty will come. Yet you walk. Why? Because you don't need to know everything to take the next step. And perhaps that is what Allah is asking from you. Not, "Show me the entire future and then I will trust you." But, take the next step and trust the one who already knows the entire road. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes we think faith means knowing what will happen. It doesn't. Faith means trusting Allah even when you don't know what will happen. That is why tawakkul is so powerful. Because tawakkul does not require certainty about the future. It requires certainty about Allah. You don't know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds tomorrow. You don't know how the door will open, but you know who controls every door. You don't know where the provision will come from, but you know who is our Razak, the opener. You don't know how your broken heart will heal, but you know who is Ash-Shafi, the one who heals. This changes everything, because your peace no longer depends on predicting the future. Your peace depends on knowing your Lord.
My dear brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question. What is the thing you are most afraid of losing? Your job? Your money? Your marriage? Your health? Your business? Your reputation? Someone you love? Now ask yourself another question. How much of that thing can you actually control? You may be able to work hard, but can you control your employer? You may care for your health, but can you control every illness? You may love someone deeply, but can you control their heart? You may build a business, but can you control the economy? You may plan carefully, but can you control every event? No. And this is where anxiety begins to reveal itself. You are trying to control what was never placed under your control. You are demanding certainty from a world that Allah created to be uncertain. And every time reality refuses to obey your plan, your heart becomes afraid. But what if uncertainty is not your enemy? What if uncertainty is one of the places where tawakkul grows? Because if you knew everything, you would have no need to trust. If you knew exactly how every problem would end, you would not need patience. If you knew exactly which door Allah would open, you would not need faith. Tawakkul exists precisely because you cannot see everything. You see the present. Allah sees the beginning, the middle, and the end. You see one piece. Allah sees the entire picture. So why are you demanding the vision of the Creator from yourself? You are a human being. You are allowed not to know. You are allowed to say, I don't know what will happen, but Allah knows. That sentence can save your heart. There is something beautiful about the way a child trusts a parent. A child may not understand why the parent says no. The child may cry. The child may become upset. But the parent knows something the child does not know. Perhaps the child wants to touch something dangerous. The parent stops them. The child thinks, why won't you let me? The parent knows, because I can see what you cannot. And perhaps some of Allah's decisions are like that. You asked for something. Allah said no. You thought, why? You prayed. You waited. You tried. Still no. And perhaps years later, you finally understand. Or perhaps you never understand in this life. And this is where true trust becomes deeper. Because if you only trust Allah when you understand Him, that isn't complete trust. Real tawakkul says, even when I don't understand, I know Allah knows.
My dear brothers and sisters, there is a dangerous misunderstanding about tawakkul. Some people think, if Allah has already written my destiny, why should I do anything? So they stop. They don't work. They don't apply. They don't study. They don't seek treatment. They don't make effort. And they call it tawakkul. But that is not tawakkul. Tawakkul does not mean abandoning the means. It means using the means while knowing that the means do not independently control the result. You work, but Allah provides. You study, but Allah gives understanding. You seek treatment, but Allah gives healing. You apply, but Allah opens the door. You plant, but Allah makes the seed grow. This distinction is incredibly important because the means are part of your responsibility. The result is not. Think about a farmer. He cannot command the seed, grow tomorrow. He cannot force the rain. He cannot order the sun. He cannot control every condition. But he can prepare the soil. He can plant. He can water. He can protect. Then he waits. That is tawakkul. Action without arrogance. Effort without obsession. Planning without believing that planning controls destiny. Sometimes you need to do everything you reasonably can and then stop. Stop checking. Stop calculating.
Stop replaying. Stop asking, did I do enough? I should have done this. What if I had chosen differently? Maybe you made a mistake. Learn from it. Correct it. Then move forward. Do not turn reflection into self-punishment. Allah knows what you knew at the time. You made the decision with the information you had. You are not required to possess knowledge that you did not have. And if you sincerely tried, then trust Allah with the consequences.
My dear brothers and sisters, there is a dangerous misunderstanding about tawakkul. Some people think, if Allah has already written my destiny, why should I do anything? So they stop. They don't work. They don't apply. They don't study. They don't seek treatment. They don't make effort. And they call it tawakkul. But that is not tawakkul. Tawakkul does not mean abandoning the means. It means using the means while knowing that the means do not independently control the result. You work, but Allah provides. You study, but Allah gives understanding. You seek treatment, but Allah gives healing. You apply, but Allah opens the door. You plant, but Allah makes the seed grow. This distinction is incredibly important because the means are part of your responsibility. The result is not. Think about a farmer. He cannot command the seed, grow tomorrow. He cannot force the rain. He cannot order the sun. He cannot control every condition. But he can prepare the soil. He can plant. He can water. He can protect. Then he waits. That is tawakkul. Action without arrogance. Effort without obsession. Planning without believing that planning controls destiny. Sometimes you need to do everything you reasonably can and then stop. Stop checking. Stop calculating. Stop replaying. Stop asking, did I do enough? I should have done this. What if I had chosen differently? Maybe you made a mistake. Learn from it. Correct it. Then move forward. Do not turn reflection into self-punishment. Allah knows what you knew at the time. You made the decision with the information you had. You are not required to possess knowledge that you did not have. And if you sincerely tried, then trust Allah with the consequences.
Now return with me to that room. It is 2 in the morning. Everyone is asleep, but you are awake. Your phone is beside you. You check it. Nothing. You put it down. 5 minutes later, you check again. Still nothing. Your mind begins. What if they don't call? What if the application failed? What if I lose everything? What if tomorrow is worse? You try to stop thinking, but the mind continues. So, you make a decision. You are going to solve tomorrow tonight. You calculate, you rehearse, you imagine, you create scenarios, you prepare responses to conversations that haven't happened. And after an hour, you have solved nothing. You have only become more exhausted. My dear brother, my dear sister, perhaps tonight you need to say, this is not mine to solve tonight. Not because you don't care, but because you have already done what you can. If there is an action you can take tomorrow, write it down. If there is nothing you can do tonight, release it. You do not need to carry tomorrow while lying in bed tonight. Tomorrow will arrive when Allah brings it. And when tomorrow arrives, Allah will give you the strength needed for tomorrow. You don't need tomorrow's strength today. You need today's strength today. My dear brothers and sisters, there are words that believers have repeated in moments when everything looked impossible. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil.
Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Do not say these words merely as a phrase. Understand what you are saying. You are saying, Allah is enough. Not, my plan is enough. Not, my money is enough. Not, my connections are enough. Not, I understand everything. You are saying, Allah is enough. And when you say, Ni'mal Wakil, you are acknowledging, He is the best one to whom I can entrust my affairs. What a powerful statement. Because sometimes you are exhausted from trying to manage everything, and Allah is inviting you to put the burden down. Not the effort, the burden. Keep working, but stop worshiping the outcome. Keep planning, but stop demanding certainty. Keep making dua, but stop telling Allah how the answer must look. Keep walking, but let Allah choose the destination. Let us make this practical. True tawakkul can be understood through 4 movements of the heart. First, know Allah. You cannot trust someone you barely know. Learn His names. Learn His mercy. Learn His wisdom. Learn His power. Learn that He is Al-Razaq. Learn that He is Al-Hakim. Learn that He is Al-Latif. The more you know Allah, the easier it becomes to trust Him. Second, take the means. Do what is within your responsibility. Work, study, prepare, ask, seek treatment, make the phone call, send the application, have the difficult conversation. Do not use tawakkul as an excuse for laziness. Third, release the result. After doing your part, stop carrying what belongs to Allah. Say, Ya Allah, I have done what I can. I leave the rest to you. Then keep moving. Fourth, accept what Allah chooses. This is the deepest level. If the result is what you wanted, say Alhamdulillah. If the result is different, say Alhamdulillah. Not because disappointment does not hurt, it can hurt deeply, but because you believe Allah chose this and I trust His wisdom more than I trust my limited vision. That is where peace begins.
Perhaps you have been making one dua for years. You have cried over it. You have asked Allah repeatedly, and nothing seems to happen. Please do not conclude, Allah doesn't hear me. My dear brothers and sisters, one day you will look back at this period of your life. You may say, now I understand. Maybe not everything, but some things. You will remember the nights you cried, the days you were afraid, the moments when you thought you could not continue, and perhaps you will realize Allah was with me through all of it. The difficulty did not mean He abandoned you. The delay did not mean He ignored you. The closed door did not mean He hated you. The uncertainty did not mean there was no plan. You simply could not see the plan. And perhaps that was the point. You were being taught to trust the planner more than the plan. Imagine carrying a heavy bag. Inside are all your worries, your future, your finances, your family, your health, your career, your relationships, your unanswered du'as, your regrets, your fears. You have carried this bag for years, and tonight Allah tells you, put it down. You say, but who will take care of everything? Allah. But what if something goes wrong? Allah will be there. But what if I fail? Allah will be there. But what if I lose everything? Allah will be there. You don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't need to, because Allah does. You were never created to know everything.
You were created to worship Allah, to make effort, to live responsibly, and to trust Him. So put the bag down. Not permanently. You will pick it up again, because you are human. But every time you notice yourself carrying what belongs to Allah, put it down again. Allah doesn't hear me. Allah hears you. But hearing is not the same as giving exactly what you requested in exactly the way you requested. Sometimes Allah gives. Sometimes He protects. Sometimes He delays. Sometimes He stores the reward. You may not understand which one is happening, and perhaps that uncertainty is part of the test. Can you keep worshiping Allah when you don't get what you want? Can you remain grateful? Can you remain hopeful? Can you continue making dua? Can you say, Ya Allah, I still trust you? That is powerful. Anyone can be grateful when the answer arrives, but there is a special kind of worship in remaining grateful while waiting.
Tonight, before you sleep, do this. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Think about the one thing that keeps returning to your mind. The one thing you are afraid of. Name it. Say, Ya Allah, this is what I am afraid of. Then ask yourself, what is actually within my control? Maybe there is one phone call, one application, one conversation, 1 hour of work, one appointment, one decision. Write it down. That is your responsibility. Everything else, release. Then say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me. Allah is the best disposer of my affairs. Then sleep. Not because the problem disappeared, but because you have remembered who is carrying it. My dear brothers and sisters, you don't need to know how your story ends. You only need to know who is writing it. You don't need to know which door will open. You only need to keep walking toward what is halal and good. You don't need to know where your rizq will come from. You only need to know who Ar-Razaq is. You don't need to know how your heart will heal. You only need to know that Allah knows how to heal it. You don't need to know how the impossible will become possible. You only need to remember that nothing is impossible for Allah. So, tonight, stop fighting tomorrow. Tomorrow is not here. Stop solving problems that do not exist yet. Stop demanding certainty about things Allah has kept hidden. Take today's step. Make today's dua. Pray today's prayer. Do today's work. And then leave tomorrow with Allah. Because tomorrow belongs to Him anyway. Your effort belongs to you. The outcome belongs to Him. Your responsibility is the seed. The growth belongs to Allah. Your responsibility is to knock. The opening belongs to Allah. Your responsibility is to walk. The destination belongs to Allah. And perhaps the greatest freedom you will ever experience is realizing that you were never meant to control the whole journey. You were only asked to trust the one who does. So, when fear returns tonight, say, Allah is enough for me. When your plans collapse, say, Allah is enough for me. When the answer is delayed, say, Allah is enough for me. When the door closes, say, Allah is enough for me. And when the door finally opens, say, Alhamdulillah. Because through every chapter, He was there. Before you understood,
before you saw the answer, before the door opened, before the storm ended, Allah was there, and He will remain there. So, take the next step. Tie the rope. Make the effort. Raise your hands. Make your dua. And then, let your heart rest. Because the future was never yours to carry. It belongs to Allah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.